There you go.
Good evening, folks. Thanks very much for coming in. I hope you all had a good weekend and the sun was shining. So tonight we have a very special show for you indeed. Probably one of our biggest shows since we started. So we get Sarah here and we get Laura down there as per usual. And we have two very special gentlemen on tonight, two very talented and accomplished gentlemen in their own field. We have our good friend, I was going to say old friend, but I'll say good friend. Actor.
I'm getting older.
I know,
yeah, exactly right. I got in the beard.
They just try to imitate me. But however, and down below us, our other very special guest is a very talented actor who you probably recognise from the massive Saw film franchise. We have Costas Mandylor, or otherwise known as Detective Mark Hoffman. It's always an honour having John on, but I'm a major Saw fan. I want to tell you.
Yeah, definitely.
And so to have Mark Hoffman sitting on our panel is, you know, it's a dream come true, basically. That sounds soppy, doesn't it?
It does.
It sounds a bit mushy.
I love it.
Thanks very much for joining us, gentlemen.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Hey, you know, it's been about a year since I've seen Costas. We were at an event over in Hollywood together, and we just kind of saw each other in passing. But hey, Costas, my brother, I miss you, brother. I miss you.
Good to see you, pal. Miss you too.
Yeah.
And hello to all the Scotsmen and Scotswomen on the podcast. What a pleasure to be here.
I think that's Costas' Scottish accent. Which
I'll do it at some point. I'll do it for the gang.
Yeah.
See you.
Jimmy.
Glasgow Kiss, Jimmy.
I said, wow, that's where I'm originally. I'm born in It's a big honour for us to have you two gentlemen here. And I will say beforehand, any questions, I'm not going to put a lot of questions up if there are any, simply because we're only running for 60 minutes. And, you know, it gets a wee bit mushy. We try to chat to our guests and answer questions. So I apologise ahead of time for that. That gets that out of the way. So we all know about John because he's been here quite a few times, but we don't know about gentlemen. You know. How did you start out, Costas? You probably asked us a million times, but I'm going to ask you anyway. How did acting start for you?
It was a bit of a fluke, to be honest. My first love in life was football. And growing up in Melbourne, Australia, I played football with a lot of Liverpudlians and a lot of Scotsmen. And my youth was in Australia. I liked boxing. I liked a little bit of the karate stuff, you know. But in the end, at 10 years old, I walked by a park and I saw these kids playing for a team, and I joined the team, and that's how it began. And meaning the life circle of loving football, sports, this and that. And as I grew older, I had an injury and I couldn't play football for a year. And it was at the peak of my 20-year-old career. And somehow I went to LA to visit somebody, and I fell into the movie business by chance, by accident. And my two breaks were two commercials, and they were soccer commercials. And I got in front of the camera and started making money, and I fell in love with it and started going to acting class. And that's how my career sort of began.
Because you've done quite a few films, you've done I can't put headphones on because Sarah's here. So if there is an echo, I do apologise. But with Sarah beside me, I can't use the headphones. Because you've got quite a long list of movies. You know, it's Stealth Fighter, The Horde, Death Count. But I think your biggest, well, for me, your biggest one is the Saw movies.
Yeah. Sorry, there's a bit of an echo, so I'm not trying to interrupt you. I'll wait till you finish.
Scott, put your headphones on. I'll jump in the chat.
Right, Sarah's going to jump in the chat, and I'll stick her in the room.
I'll go get them.
Sharon's going to jump in.
I'm hearing stuff when I speak. I don't want to
Well, we have this problem because we're on StreamYard, so we do have this issue every now and again that if there's more than one or two people on, we've had it with John as well. We tend to get a bit of an echo.
So, Scott, can you hear me all right?
I can hear you fine, buddy. Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay.
Sorry.
Hello.
I can hear you all fine. But we'll get the headphones and we'll get the echo taken care of. So,
okay.
You guys.
When I'm talking, I hear myself screaming at me some crazy sounds.
I know you can see that. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, that's better.
Oh, that's a lot better.
Yeah.
That's a lot better.
All right.
Hey, Costas.
Yeah.
So, what is that film that you did with Jack Nicholson that you had this amazing scene just with Jack?
Are we allowed to tell stories on this channel?
Let's tell some story. I want to hear some.
I'm going to tell you. I can't mention any names, but I'll just tell you this. I was doing a TV show in Canada called Secret Agent Man, based on the original with the wonderful actor who played the king in Braveheart. What was his name? He did Secret Agent Man in the 60s. Can't remember his name now. Great actor. Anyway, I was doing the show, and all of a sudden I land in front of Sean Penn and all these wonderful people, and they invite me to do a movie called The Pledge. And in that movie, they had Vanessa Redgrave, they had Mickey Rourke, they had Jack Nicholson, they had Aaron Eckhart, they had a couple of other, and everybody that was in that movie with Jack was an Academy Award nominee or Academy Award winner, including the cameraman who did The Killing Fields, including this guy and that guy, Nicholson and Sean Penn directing. Anyway, as they invite me to be a part of it, which, it's a great honor, my one-page monologue turned into a 6-page monologue with Jack Nicholson over about a few days. And Sean Penn sends me a note and he goes, "Time to go to school, buddy." And I was starting to panic, and I learned the material backwards and forwards, and they were running late. And by the time they got to me, Sean Penn got nominated for an Academy Award for a movie called Sweet and Lowdown, based on the great guitar player Django, whatever his name is, right? And Django Reinhardt. Anyway, that night, Sean had some friends around, and we ended up going to bed at about 8 o'clock in the morning. And I'm supposed to work at 12. And Sean said, "Don't worry about it. We're gonna be running late." So I go to bed about 10 o'clock in the morning, thinking I'm not getting called till the evening. My phone rings at 12 o'clock when I just finally fell asleep. And the driver goes, "I'm here to pick you up." And I said, tell Mr. Can we let us swear on this channel? I'll just use the word. I go, tell Mr. Penn to go F himself, right? And I went straight back to bed. Then I finally get picked up at about 6 in the afternoon when I've slept. I get there and my brain's all over the place. I have to relearn something that it took me a week to learn, but it was somewhere in my head. The makeup people felt sorry for me. They're helping me reread the stuff. All of a sudden, it's 9 o'clock at night and I've learned everything again. And now I'm getting real tired. And I said to myself, do not fall asleep, because you wake up empty-headed, right? So I stayed till about 10 o'clock. They finally called me to the set. Sean Penn's getting a B-12 shot. Jack Nicholson's screaming that they're running late. The producers are freaking out. And they had to change the shot to a tracking shot. That means they put the camera on a track, and you can't screw up. Otherwise, you have to start again. I get up there. I said to the doctor, "Give me a B-12 shot," which apparently gets your blood going. And he gave me a shot. We start the scene. Nicholson's got 3 lines and I've got 6 pages. And I'm doing weights, and the camera with all the Academy Award winners is tracking towards me as I do the scene. If I screw up anything, I have to start again. It's already like almost midnight. Lo and behold, I did it in the first take. Sean Penn comes out of the back room. He goes, "You knocked that out of the ballpark. Let's do one for fun." Nicholson looks at me and he goes, "Jesus Christ, kid, you're on fire." I said, "Thank you, Jack. Now I'm nervous because now I know where I am." Because I was so tired that I just did it. Anyway, it worked out for the best. But I suggest to all upcoming actors, do not go out with the director and celebrate the night before you have a big scene with Jack Nicholson. Anyway, that story is a survival story, okay? I can tell you more, but I don't want to get anybody into trouble.
No, that was because I remember when Costas told me that story. I'm going, holy crap! I mean, one, what an opportunity. Two, you know, you always want to be ready as an actor, but you have to be ready for things not to go the way, you know, as planned.
Yeah. Well, they call them. Yeah, they call them happy accidents. So that could have been a disaster. But I must tell you, there's people that a lot of this audience will know. Of course, the great Ray Winston, West Ham, Claret and Blue, London boy. Brendan Gleeson, the great Irishman. I've had the privilege of Sir Anthony Hopkins. I've had the privilege of working with different people. Everybody's different. But I know that my beautiful English and Irish and Scotsman every now and then like a drink, the night before work. But as long as you don't screw up your professionalism, you're fine. You know what I'm saying? It's all part of the journey. Ask Peter O'Toole and ask Richard Burton, ask Oliver Reed, and they'd say the same thing.
Yeah.
The greats.
These are all major, big names: Jack Nicholson, Sean Penn, etc. You know, how did you find working with it? I mean, we've interviewed a lot of people, and some, on TV and stuff like that, and other people we've interviewed are very, very down to earth. You know, you expect some of them to be a wee bit, up in themselves kind of thing, but John included, very down to earth guy. I had to say that because he's on. I
was going to say, wait a minute, hold on.
No, well, we seem to kind of click quite well, John. Bounce off each other.
We do. It's funny because people were asking, how do you understand Scottish accent? I said, just take the time, just listen. We don't have to speak the same language to know what we're saying. So absolutely.
Yeah, you haven't hung out with a drunken Scotsman yet, have you?
Try listening to two drunken Glaswegians having a conversation together.
That's my point.
That's I understand them perfectly. Glaswegians have a habit, myself included, that the longer we talk, the faster we get. We don't know we're doing it. We just get faster. And Laura will tell you. Laura stays 2 minutes away from us, and but the longer we talk, the faster we go. And about halfway through a conversation, we tend to lose people then because we're talking too fast, and that's when people just kind of start nodding and agreeing with you, and they don't have a clue what you're saying.
Hey, don't worry, brother. Me and John found it sexy.
Yeah.
I've been told that. I've been told that before.
You handsome devil.
I know, John. Keep going.
Hey, I wasn't talking about him. I was talking about the accent.
Thanks very much. No, I've been told that the Scottish accent is quite a sexy accent and stuff like that. I didn't know that anyway. I speak it myself, but I was going to say, Jack Nicholson, etc., major stars. How did you find working with these people? Really, were they just really down to earth people at the end of the day?
Yeah, well, are you talking me? Am I answering this, or is John? Because I do have an answer for you. I found
go
from I think the greats that I've worked with. The first thing they are, which makes them great, is they're human beings, man.
Yeah.
I mean, Ray Winston was a kid when he made Scum, and then he drove a fucking cab around England around London for years. I mean, if the man can do that, he's willing to walk in a pub and have a conversation with anybody. He's an ex-pugilist. People that fight tend to be more down to earth. Now, I mean, I could drop a lot of names now, but the movie that I did was a great experience with Ray Winston, Brendan Gleeson, John Malkovich, Sir Anthony Hopkins. Wow. All we did all day long in between shooting was tell stories. And I'm like, fucking, these people are unbelievable. There was no snobbery. Anthony Hopkins, I hope you don't mind me saying this, Sir Tony. He goes, call me Tony. He's one of the chattiest, funniest men that's so down to earth. And he's a sir, and he's a legend, and he's been doing it for how long now? I mean, he was so down to earth telling us stories. At one point, he goes, and this is Malkovich, and Brendan Gleeson, and Ray, me, and a couple of other people listening. And at one point, he goes, sorry, fellas, am I talking too much? And everybody goes, no, keep going, I mean, I worked with James Coburn one night he knocked on my trailer at lunch because he was bored, and he said, "Hey, kid," and I was hungover that day, I was almost falling asleep. He knocks on my door. He goes, "Hey, kid, are you sleeping? I'll come back later." I said, "No, come in. They just want to talk."
Yeah,
In the end, these wonderful storytellers on film. I mean, all we have is memories and stories, and obviously the Irish, the Scottish, the English, and I could say some Greeks and some old-time Americans. They're great storytellers, and that's what movies are. They're great stories to be told. You know, so most of them are down to earth. I find the younger generation slightly more starstruck about themselves than the older generation, because this older generation, some of them served in war. Lee Marvin was a war hero. People have to work for a living. They come from working class backgrounds, most of them, you know. And some of the kids are a little spoiled, and they come across as a little bit nerve-wracked. And I think the more nervous or snobby people are, the more fear they have. The other ones are like, look you in the eyes and talk to you. And I think that's part of the beauty and the experience that I've had.
I had the pleasure of meeting. We covered the commemoration of the Battle of Stirling Bridge with the William Wallace Society last year, and I had the pleasure of meeting James Cosco. You know, he's done many films. The one that sticks in my mind is Hamish's father in Braveheart.
Right.
He was there, you know, and I went up and said to him, you know, any chance of a photograph with you? And the guy goes, sure, no bother. You know, when you get some other stars that might say, oh, don't have time, or their bodyguards or whatever will say, oh no, you know, move out the way. But James was like, you know, and I got a couple of photos with him, totally down to earth guy. Same as yourself, and same as Mr. Ozuna, and you know, down there. So just before we come on to Saw, because I'm going to talk about Saw, I think you might have expected that, Costas. You two guys recently worked together on the film The Bouncer.
Yeah. You know, we filmed The Bouncer over in Romania, Bucharest, and you know, they actually were thinking of somebody else for Costas' role, and I can't imagine anybody else to play that role except Costas. You know, and so the director and I, we talked about it, and he goes, well, I have two people in mind. He said, this person or Costas. And I don't want to throw a name out there because Costas, you've worked with him before. And I've worked with him before too. And he's a well-known actor. You know, he definitely had his heyday. But I said, you know, to the director, I said, it's a no-brainer. We need to have Costas in this. I mean, that's a no-brainer. We gotta have him. So
wait until I see that fucker.
Exactly right.
Wait till I see him. He'll get the Jimmy. Picking somebody else.
I'll tell you later on who it was too, and you go, oh yeah, you know, because you've worked with him before, I've worked with him before, and he's a great actor too. He's a really respectable actor, but he's no Costas Mandylor. And that's what separates it right there, you know. And you know, we're talking about, you know, modesty and being down to earth, you know, and because I've had the good fortune working with, you know, Keanu Reeves, you know, and the Matrix, and how I got that job. My agent at the time, you know, they call me, they say, hey, you know, I got a part for you. It's a small role, you know, and it's a dialogue with the lead actor. Are you up for it? I said, hell yeah, I'm up for it. You know, just you don't turn things down. Yeah, and they said, and I was asking some questions. So, you know, what do I need to be prepared for? You know, what's the name of the project? Well, we can't tell you the name of the project. Sorry, we can't tell you the name of the project. It's going under Project Ice Cream. I'm going, okay, Project Ice Cream. Okay, I like ice cream. People like ice cream. Okay, we'll go for it. So day one of filming, they prep me, you know, they do all the stuff that they need to do in terms of hair, makeup, wardrobe, and all that good stuff. And they set me, and they've got the crew behind me, and in walks Keanu Reeves. And then that's who I have a scene with. So it's a scene with me and Keanu Reeves, you know, and you could not have asked for more of a you know, he came up to me, hey, you know, hey, John, it's wonderful to work with you today. You know, you know what, we're gonna hit this out of the park. It's gonna be, let's make it fun. You know, let's make it enjoyable. Let's make it entertaining for the viewers. Let's just have some fun. You know, he was just so cool about it. You know, super down to earth. If somebody wanted a selfie, he did it. If somebody wanted an autograph, he did it. You know, I've been around, and Costas made a point, and I love the way you said this, Costas. You said the younger generation now is starstruck with themselves.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you hit it right on the head there. And I have been in events where, you know, I'm among my peers, and you take pictures with one another and whatnot. And I went up to uh, one other well-known actor. Again, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus. I say, hey, let's get a shot together before things start getting crazy. And he goes, hey man, you know what? If I take a picture with you, that means I got to take a picture with everybody. So you know what? You know, no, let's not do it. I said, whoa. I said, wait a minute. I'm thinking to myself, I'm not your fan. I said, we're peers. Hey, I just thought, hey, this would be good. It's downtime, good opportunity for a picture together. Fine. That's fine. You know, so everybody has their way.
Do you think, as Costa was saying about the younger generation being starstruck, you know, you see the Welsh being starstruck with herself, do you think maybe, this is just my opinion, I'm probably totally wrong here because I'm a Scotsman, but however, you know, do you think maybe the younger generation of actors, actresses, you know, they're that way because, you know, they've got it in their head that, oh, you know, I've made films, I'm big, I'm a big name, and, you know, everybody else is a little people, whereas the older generation's actors, you know, like Anthony Hopkins, James Cosgrove, etc., they've been around a long time, they've done a lot of films, they've met a lot of people, you know, in the movie business, outside the movie business. And do you think they've, you know, over the years, they've learned to appreciate that it's their fans that make them? You know, as they might say, the little people that come to see their films, it's them that's made their career possible. Whereas the younger ones have still to kind of learn that sort of lesson.
Yeah, they're living in a bubble. Look, I do a lot of these Comic-Cons now, and I've seen some pretty legendary people be very, very, very kind to the fans. And without the fans, you got no freaking audience. What do you got? You got you in a fucking room by yourself. Look, I'll tell you this. I got plenty of energy for the fans. I hug every one of them. I take pictures. I mean, I've had experiences in these Comic-Cons when they brought a woman to me one time. I'll tell you two experiences where it's just when we're kids and somebody looks up to you, one kind word, one afternoon, one something gives a kid hope or a dream or some warmth, you know. And I remember these guys came up to me. They had a woman that one of them was married to that was crippled in a wheelchair. And I don't think she was crippled from an accident. I think she was born this way. And they go, my wife loves you. Can you give her a hug? So three men picked her body up, put her in my arms. Listen, bro, when I hugged that woman and she kind of, thank you. And they put her gently back in the chair and I hugged the guys. I had to walk behind the curtain and fucking wipe my tears. That woman wanted a hug from me and I'm not going to give it to her. Screw everybody. The other one that I'll never forget, this was only a couple of months ago. That one was a couple of years ago. This kid comes in dressed as my character from Saw, and he was trying to talk to me. And he was stuttering. He had a stutter, and I calmed him down. Anytime they're shaking, I give them a hug. You know, I go, if you're nervous, you're gonna make me nervous. So come on, it's hug time. And a lot of these young kids have hopes, dreams, and maybe not great lives sometimes. You know. Anyway, I hugged the kid, and he kept talking, and he slowed down and. He left the room and I looked at the three women. It was a photo shoot, you know. They come and they go and you hug them and talk to them and this and that for seconds. And the girls looked at me. I looked at them and we all burst out crying, going, how lucky are we, you know, that anybody is making the effort to come and see us. Now, I'm not being precious about it. That's just the way I feel about it. That's the way I'm going to die. And I haven't really died yet, you know. So anybody that's not that way, what can I say? I mean, all I can tell you is this. A little bit of kindness. Now, if somebody disrespects you, I'm all in. But in general, these people make an effort to come and meet you. What are you going to give them? Hello, goodbye. You know, I try my best. Humanity is a pretty good thing when it's done right. That's all I can say.
Yeah, I mean, that's fantastic. I mean, that's just to piggyback on that. You know, just it's to me, I don't understand how you can refuse somebody if they want to meet with you, talk with you, they want a picture autograph, they want a selfie, or they just want that personal connection. You know, they're a human being, you're a human being, you know, you may have similar experiences, something to share, they have something to share for you, you know. And as an actor, we take the time to learn from everybody's, not only our own experiences but other people's experiences to draw from. And how can we deny them those opportunities? How can we shut them down? I mean, just that makes no sense to me at all. And yeah.
You know, the world has changed as far as, if you look at old movie stars, we only saw them coming out of premieres or shot at dinner. And that somehow kept the beautiful movie star mystique. Unfortunately or fortunately, the world's now become more of a hands-on world, and people can talk like this, and you know, there's even phones, you can leave messages, right? But I love the old movie star mystique, and I didn't want to know them. I wanted to see what they did. If I heard a rumor or something that was interesting. Now it's become more of a now touchy, you know, closer world because we've got all this technology. Hey, just go for it. You can still have a private life. If anybody, you know, does the wrong thing, you tell them. Other than that, people just want to go, hey. I mean, if somebody looks at me like that, hey. I remember Kirk Douglas walking down the street once in Beverly Hills. There was nobody there but me and him. He walks by me, and I wanted to say, Spartacus. You know, I wanted to say something to him. Ulysses. But he was walking like John Wayne, and I just let him go. So sometimes that's nice, too. But when somebody comes up and you go, get away from me, I'm like, oh, fuck it, you know, good luck. You know, have a miserable life.
Yeah,
that's all.
Sarah's put up a comment. Our 8-year-old daughter always says, be kind, because kindness always comes back around.
Aye, Captain, that's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just before we move on to the soft films, I've got a favour to ask of you, Costas. Well, it's not actually me. It's our 8-year-old daughter. Now, people might say we're broken because our 8-year-old daughter is a massive Saw fan. I sent John the video. She dressed up as Jigsaw at Halloween last year. So she's actually watching this in the other room. And she said to me earlier on, and this is a quote, Costas, from our 8-year-old, can you do the Jigsaw voice to see how good you are?
You want me to do his voice? What's her name?
Tayami.
Hi, Tayami. You want to play a game? That wasn't a great thing. I'll do one more. Right now, Tayami, you're feeling helpless. That's a Scottish Jigsaw.
Good job, brother.
You know what? Hey, let me tell you a funny story. When I first got to say the line, game over, because he had said it and it was such an icon, right? Now my character has to say it on the thing. Game over. I was practicing it all day, and I started laughing at myself, saying, it's 2 words. Just do it in your own voice. What are you trying to sound like him for? By the time we got to shoot it, it wasn't game over anymore. It was gay mover. That's how far we went. Because I said it so many times. I told the director, let me try it. And I go, gay mover. And he burst out laughing.
Well, thanks very much for that. I've got a quick question for Robbie. Sarah says, our wee face just lit up. You have made her year. So many thanks for that, Costas. She is a big Saw fan. Robbie's got a quick question before we start talking about the Saw films. About Angus McFadden. He worked with him in the Bruce movie. What was it like to work with in Saw?
Angus was a strange and funny cat. He's rather eccentric. And I remember when I first got there, I'm laughing and joking because it was a gift to be there. He was there before me, in the movie before me. And I'm laughing and joking with everybody. And I found him at one point. I'll tell him when I see him too. I go, he's like staring at me smoking for like an hour at the table. And I'm like, does he want to fight me or does he want to have sex with me? I'm gonna find out. And by the time we got to know each other, we were laughing together and he told me some funny stories. But look, I mean, One of the great movies of all time, Braveheart, and he played a beautiful role. He did a great job. I mean, everybody in that movie was just stunning. And what isn't Davy O'Hara Scottish? Davy O'Hara, who played the Irishman. It's my Ireland, isn't he Scottish?
I'm not sure, but I liked him. Stephen, his name was in the film. He says Ireland, it's mine.
Yeah.
You know, I thought that was hilarious. It was a brilliant film. But so talk about the Saw films. Obviously, you must have known you were going to have to talk about them. Costas coming in here. I don't know you can avoid it, can you?
I cannot.
Costas.
You know, I mean, I don't know where do you start. I've been a massive Saw fan since day one, 2004. Wow. The first Saw film came out. You know, so 20 years. And you first appear in Saw 3. Just as, you know, Mark Hoffman, just a normal cop. Yeah. And Saw 4, it starts to get a bit juicier.
Aye. When
you kidnap Seth Baxter, because he murdered your sister, what have you, and he got let out early out of jail. So you kidnap him, and that's when you catch the attention of Jigsaw.
Aye.
You know, because your trap was inferior or something. They said your blade was inferior.
Well, it's inferior in every way, and I did it with anger. And when you do things with anger, it's not the right way. And his philosophy was thrust upon me in Saw 5, as you remember, where he captures me and gives me that big speech, and then the character was kind of born in 4, but number 5, we understood why he did what he did about his sister's death, and then we see that Jigsaw's wife loses a baby, and he decides to make people pay for their sins. So that's the clever part of the Saw franchise, you know.
Yeah.
How did you get? How did you get involved with the Saw films?
Look,
how did it start?
You got to work your ass off to get successful in this business, and sometimes you get lucky. I actually, my manager was one of the producers, and one day he called me up and he goes, "Look, I just want you to meet the director. You never know what's going to happen." And he said, "There's a part where you die, and there's a part where you don't die. We don't know where it's going to go." I said, "I don't want the part where I die. Let me have the little part where I live." And I went to meet the director, and here's a funny one for you. I go to meet the director, Darren Bousman, who now laughs with me whenever we catch up on the phone sometimes. But he was very serious, and he was very cocky because he had a successful franchise. Actually, at the time, when Saw 2 was born, biggest in the world. And I get there, and the manager producer there, Mark Berg, and this guy, the director, Darren Bousman. And we're talking away, and he's staring at me. And I hate it when they just stare at you because you feel like, do I have to fucking perform now? I'm just being me, you know?
Exactly right.
And sometimes me might be boring, but I've learned, be yourself, be authentic, and you know what? You should be fine. But I, at one point they go, "So have you seen the first 2?" And I go, "No." And he goes, "Okay." About 5 minutes later, the meeting's over. And the director leaves, and Mark Berg, the director, goes, "What the fuck did you say you haven't seen him for?" I go, "Because I haven't. What if you ask me a question? What am I going to say? I'll get caught with my pants down." He goes, "You live in Hollywood. You're going to learn to lie a little bit." Anyway, I ended up being invited in, and I became pretty much friendly fun with Darren Bousman, who's a wonderful movie maker. And then I met all the rest of them, and they kept me around. You know, in Saw, there's a rule. If you behave and do a good job, you may live. But if you fuck around and you aren't professional, it's really easy to kill you.
Yeah.
Laura's got a question for you. What kind of films do you watch to relax, and who's your favourite actor or actress?
Movies that I relax with. I love gangster movies, I must tell you. I like romantic comedies when I get lucky enough. But my favorite actor, I'll tell you who my favorite actor friend is. Speaking of Scottish, Gerard Butler. I love the man, right? I love the man for many different reasons. We actually did a football movie called The Game of Their Lives, which they ended up releasing as The Miracle Match, about a true story about the American football team in 1950 with some soccer players and whatnot. And Jerry and I became rather close. And he's a wonderful friend and a funny Scotsman. And as far as women actresses, geez, there's so many good ones. But I look back at somebody like Jessica Lange. She did a performance in Francis. I don't know if you remember that. I mean, Sophia Loren. I like the old movie stars. But Gerard Butler is my favorite actor friend that I know. But I must tell you, my favorite actor that I've actually admired before I actually met him is Anthony Quinn.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll throw in Anthony Hopkins because he's such a wonderful guy. And then you've got Brendan Gleeson, and you've got Ray Winston, who I've hung out with and been lucky to have a few laughs with. And, the Salt of the Earth guys are the best. But there's so many wonderful actors that, Jack Nicholson was unbelievable, to work with. Such a professional. Sat there waiting for me to finish my monologues. Didn't have to go anywhere. I mean, there's a reason they're superstars. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, see, if we saw four onwards, you TV, you're one of the main characters in the film. No disrespect to anybody else. You've got Tobin Bell, who plays Jigsaw himself. He's obviously the big man. But then there's your character, Mark Hoffman, who you kind of, I know there's two, to me, you correct me if I'm wrong, I would say there's two sides to Mark Hoffman. There's a Jigsaw side, but there's also another side where you kind of feel sorry for him because not a lot of people like him.
Yeah.
And whenever he turns around, people don't want to talk to him, they don't want to work with him as a policeman. And so it kind of things like an outcast sort of thing. Is that the way the role was meant to go? There's that character.
I don't know what they really wanted. I just know that the first script that I got, where I was really born in number 4 after the third one, when I was born and I get off the icebox. Remember when Donnie Wahlberg gets smashed and I go game over? That was when I had the thing. All I remember was, the truth is, I never read that script. I just read the scenes that I was in. And there's a funny story about actors that don't read the scripts. They go, my part, bullshit, my part.
Exactly right.
That's not why I did that. I did it because I somehow had to manipulate the audience, and I didn't want to out clever myself. So I just pretended to be as innocent as the audience. So it just happened that way. And as the years have gone by, I've done some sinister things, but people come up to me now, fans. I've been to Liverpool, Manchester, Carolina, everywhere. And they come up, they go, "We hate you, but we kind of love you." And I said, maybe I'm doing something right. Because, the old Anthony Hopkins adage is, when you play a bad guy, you don't think you're a bad guy, You've got to find ways to just try and be like, I have a purpose. So I don't know how they structured it, and I had no big plan because the plan was already drawn. So I just tried to fit into the canvas. That's the smartest thing I think I've ever done.
Kate's asking, do you have any plans of producing or directing your own movie? We need some good gangster movies.
Yeah, you know what? I do, and I'm starting to. And I think that if I get a chance, it'll have to be something on the smaller side, but what we call an independent movie, to prove yourself. And then if you do well, obviously you can compete you get more money and you get more chances and people want to join you. But there are some things that I'm planning, and let's get the young boys to work and the young girls to work. You know what I'm saying? But I think I know enough now to do it. I just think that directors don't get the praise they deserve sometimes, because they're from the beginning to the end, and the end of the movie, actors go and have a drink. Directors have to finish the editing and do the rest and make sure the music's good and make sure they piece it together. So director's a big job. You have to be committed to it, I'm almost ready.
Right. Well, I'll be keeping an eye out, and John will probably tell me anyway. Won't you, John?
I will. It's like, I rumor has it that Costas has got this humongous role for me in one of those independent films.
Oh, Johnny. Yeah, I think we can use you, John. I think you're usable.
To make I think we can use you to make the coffee or something, probably. You know what I mean?
Johnny or you?
I'll come out. You want a cup of coffee, young man? I'll come over as long as I get a wee part in a wee sofa for him,
We'll get you in so your little girl can watch you on screen.
That'd be awesome. I've got the looks for it. I think I've got the looks for it.
Yeah. Yeah. What's the old joke? With you got the look. You got the great looks for radio.
Exactly.
Not you. That's just a funny saying I've heard.
All right. I think you're talking to me. Robbie for this comment, and I 100% agree. But I want you guys' opinions on it. Obviously, Hoffman was the sort of main, no disrespect to Jigsaw, he was a big man, but Hoffman seemed to be, he he was always there. He kept it going. You know, the games and stuff like that. If that makes a lot of sense. I love the short films. As I say, I have from day one. And I think the reason that it's lasted 20 years, and I know they're in the process of making Saw 11, I think it's lasted because of the way it was written. You know, I mean, no disrespect to, you know, slasher, Friday 13th, you know, Freddy, all the rest of it, you know, great movies, you know, but they kind of died out. You know, I think it kind of ran out of storyline, but Saw just kind of keeps on going because there's that many branches on the tree.
Yeah.
I think, you know, and every different film brings up a different kind of surprise.
Yeah. They have the gift of going forward and going backwards. And one of the things that I found interesting, and the audience probably loves, is at the end they kind of wrap it up by going, "Oh, that's where. Oh, that's what." You know, they go and they piece it together, which jigsaw puzzle. It seems to work. I know that last year they made Saw X, and it was a huge success again. And let's call it almost the third generation. Because the last two before that with Chris Rock and then there was another one. I heard it didn't hit home with the audience as much as the other ones did. So when they put it together last year, they kind of revived it in a way where you're not sure where it's set in time, and the train is running again. So the one thing I'll give credit to, apart from the Saw fans who are clever enough to be interested enough to want to work it out and still follow it if it's done right, is Mark Berg and Oren Koulis, the producers, that they care enough to make it as interesting as they can instead of just putting it out there and having that watered down version where everybody loses interest. So we got to give it to them. And I'll tell you what, the two creators, Lee Winnell and James Wong, I've got to give it to them. The two Melbourne boys where I come from. And I don't know how they came up with this stuff, but they came up with it and a juggernaut was born and it's still alive. So, you know, yeah. I'm happy. I don't know if I'm ever going to come back. I can't say anything even if I know, but I know it's still alive and they're trying to make a great script for next year.
Well, you did make a wee surprise appearance at the end, which I was, you know, I was surprised at the end of Saw X, right? Which I loved. I thought that was perfect, you know.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the fans that I've met, and there are thousands of them that I've had the privilege to be around at these Comic Cons all over the world. And they're all coming up to me, and you shouldn't see the smile on my face. They go, "When you came on at the end of Saw X, the whole audience freaked out." And I'm looking at them going, "Thank you." And they go, "You're going to be in the next one?" And I go, "That's all I can do. I have an eye twitch."
Because I was watching, when I watched Saw X many times now, but the first time we went to the cinema to see it initially, and you're watching the film and you see Jigsaw, he makes a couple of phone calls, does he tell you he's on the phone? And I'm watching it thinking, it's got to be Hoffman. Hoffman's got to be in it somewhere. And then the credits went up at the end, and I was getting ready to leave, and Sarah says, "No, wait, because there's another bit." And then true enough, you pop up. I knew. I don't think it would be a Saw film without Hoffman in it. He's got to appear somewhere in the background. Yeah. You know.
I heard that from a few people. I'm glad you waited, because some people left and they were pissed off because they missed that sort of crescendo. But I'm glad you stayed in there.
I love the line as well. You know, of all the people you chose to cheat, you picked John Kramer. I thought that was a brilliant way just to, you know, in other words, you effed with the wrong guy this time.
Yeah, well, a lot of people love they love that quote. I never knew the line was going to be that popular, but at the end of it, I say, I call that epic bad luck. And people go,
"That's what epic bad luck." Craig's one of ours. He's doing filming and stuff at college. He's asking if you any advice in writing, directing, or getting into the industry. To both use gents.
You want to go first, Sean, or me? Because
you know, I mean, there's always ideas. I mean, there's, you know, everyday life inspires ideas for storytelling. Everyday life, you know, and you know, just I spoke with a director friend of mine, and I said, you know, I've got this idea for a film. You know, I feel kind of this would be the right time to do it. And I'm not going to really say what it is right now, but you know, you always have these ideas floating in your brain of what could be good, and but this is the thing, you know, what might be interesting to me would may not translate to cinema, and you know, you know, in conversations I've had with other producers and whatnot, you know, you're throwing ideas around, and as soon as the bouncer comes out, because the bouncer is going through its final stages of distribution right now. Um, as soon as that comes out, that will enable us to go ahead and go all out on another project, and probably filming in Romania again, but a whole other storyline. But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. To the young man, I would say, if you want to be a director, then obviously you're a born storyteller. If you ultimately, I tell people, whatever you do, if you love what you do, you're probably going to be pretty good at it. And then a little luck might have to enter the frame, you know. Just try and find good mentors and get your shot. When you take your shot, just be dedicated to it and pick good people, you know. I think the director is as good as his actors and vice versa. So if you get that good mixture of like-minded people that want to make of your vision come true, you've got a shot at, you know, becoming a successful person in what you do. And like I said, directing is a big responsibility. And if you're doing it and studying it, you're probably going to be ready for it, you know? So I believe in movie magic, and it can come from anybody. Just follow your dream and go for it, you know?
Exactly. Thanks for that, guys. Again, back to Hoffman. See, I love the character, you know, and he's kind of in the background doing his jigsaw thing, you know, setting traps, and nobody suspects except, well, you get Agent Strom, who I think he's your kind of arch enemy.
Right.
You know, your nemesis. Did the two of yous go on offset? Because on camera, you despise each other, you know?
Yeah. I think he wanted to fight. Deep down, I think he wanted to fight me. I smothered him with love. You know, I just remember that scene was like, he was gung-ho to do it. And I was like, all right, let's be careful. But we did it, and it went well. All I can say is that I was the lucky one, because I want to get in that glass coffin, which is one of my favorite traps. And he says, I've got you. I know who you are. And then I go, oh, yeah. And I smile at him. And then all of a sudden he's trapped in the squishing walls, you know, the closing in on him. I was the lucky one. It was written for me, so that was good. But look, all these actors that have had the privilege of being in that franchise, they worked hard, and some die and some don't. I'm just one of the lucky ones. That's all.
It's that I think that's the other thing about Sword Appeal. You use is that it gets that Hoffman gets envelope. I know who you are, and it could be for, you know, a dozen different people. And it's said, you know, when you're watching the film and you see the envelope, you start thinking, right, who wrote it? Who is it? Is it Strom? Is it Erickson? Is it Gibbs? What, you know, who is it that's on to his kind of secret sort of thing? It turns out we all know. I'm not going to say it in case everybody's not seen the Saw films. If everybody's not seen the Saw films, then they should be ashamed. You know?
Shameful. By the way, you know, when I knew I was going to make it was when, well, obviously when I was in that trap and I ran to the door and it stopped. Remember that trap when Jill put me in that trap? I knew I was going to live on the day. I didn't know how we were going to do it. But the one where I knew I was going to be all right was when my voice is getting worked out by the coppers, by the lady and the gentleman in the office. Remember that? When they're getting closer to saying, we know that voice. And I attacked them with the cuff. Yeah, that was my favorite, because I was helpless that day. I worked out how to do that in a plausible way, to get to them, to stab them, to do that without them getting the gun and shooting me. And that was the proudest day of my life, because I was left on my own to work out how I'm going to get to them. How is it going to look real? And that was the day that I loved. So apart from some of the traps, that was one of my favorite scenes where I was sort of proud of myself, because you can't always think that way. You got to just make sure that the audience enjoys what you're doing. But that day I was like hanging on a cliff by myself, and I worked it out. And the way I did it, I was proud of. So I knew I would go on a little bit longer, you know. But at this point, I'm either getting out of the bathroom or they're going to write something else if I ever come back. We'll see. The mystery is, even for me, they don't tell me shit. And if they tell me stuff, I'm not allowed to tell anybody. Yeah. Right now, I'm just hoping that the franchise does well again, and hopefully I'll be a part of it.
Well, fingers crossed. as I said earlier on, I'm not putting all the questions up because we've only about 10 minutes left, and I've got a couple of things I want to ask Costas and John. Obviously, I'm not going to leave John out. So if I don't put a question up, I do apologise. That bit where you're in the room with Gibbs and Ericsson and they're playing the tape and the voice is slowly coming. I was watching it thinking, right, he's screwed this time. He's got, they've got to kind of catch him this time.
Yeah.
And I mean, as you say, the next Saw film. I mean, like Friday the 13th films, Big Jason, great guy. You know what's going to happen. He's going to walk about the forest killing people. That's it. But the thing with the Saw films is you just don't know. Because they did Jigsaw and then they did Saw X. I think, right, they're doing another one. What's going to happen?
Yeah.
Because by this time Jigsaw's long dead, basically, and but it's all still continuing. Right. And as I say, the first film came out 2004, and I loved the way the first film was put together because it was basic. It was in a bathroom, two guys, Dr. Gordon and Adam, and they were obviously Jigsaw lying on the ground. And they did another couple of scenes with traps, but the film, I don't think they expected it to be such a massive hit as it turned out to be.
Yeah. I don't think that many people can predict. I mean, even TV shows, some stay on the air forever, some disappear, and the ones that I thought were going to stay on the air are gone, and other ones stay forever. I think that, look, you do your best with what you have, you construct your piece, you believe in it, and you put it out to the people. In the end, the people make the decision. If they come, if they watch, you're in the game.
Yeah. So the appeal of Saw, do you think it's the blood and guts? I love blood and guts, by the way. I love to see people losing body parts and stuff like that, Brilliant. Yeah. Do you think it's like the blood and guts that attract people or the storyline?
I think I'd have to say a mixture of both, because there's a big price to pay. There's a lot at stake when your fingers and your neck and your eyes are getting, torn apart because you've done something naughty. But I think it's the redemption factor and the surprise factor that's the ultimate thing that keeps it going. Because like you said, they've got so many which ways to go. And the more clever and the more suspense they give you, the more intrigued you are, and you'll stay with it,
I mean, as you say, you get so much distance still to go, and it's 20 years down the line.
Yeah.
And fans, I'm in a couple of the Saw groups, and people are talking, when's Saw 11 coming out, when's it, what's going to be, and everybody's got all their own different theories of how next one's going to be, how it's going to go, and your name comes up quite a wee bit. Is Hoffman going to be in it? Is he dead? Is he going to keep going? Etc. And it just, in the way it's all put together, as you say earlier on, because it's like a puzzle, And I think in Saw the 7, the final chapter, a lot of it came together. A lot of it was explained in that one, the final chapter. But then they moved on again to the next film, and they opened up more cans of worms.
Right. Well, there you go. It's the can. The worms are still in the can. That's the best way to put it. There's plenty of worms still coming. Which way they're going to come, I don't know. I just know that you are an avid fan. You remember all the characters' names. I have a shout out to all of Scotland. I love Scots. I got to tell you, not because I'm on the phone. Two of my favorite races, apart from Greeks, are Scottish and Croatians. And they think I'm kissing their ass, but no, I love the Scotsmen and I love the Saw fans. And you know what? I love my job still, and I'm lucky to have it. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. So just we'll wind it up in a wee minute, two guys. I know you gentlemen are very busy. I've not asked you, John, yet your opinion of the Saw films.
Yeah, I mean, who couldn't be? I mean, geez, it's funny because I mentioned to my brother before I came over here in Maryland. I said, "Oh, we're getting together a interview with Costas." He goes, "Oh yeah, Hoffman, all right," because he's a huge fan of Saw movies, and I've seen just about all of them, and it's this is my thing. You have fans that are drawn to this because it's a combination of explicit gore and a good story. There's a good story there with visual content, and that gets addictive because, to Costas' point, you know, you're taking a risk when you do that, because there's a huge group of people that will, they don't want to see blood. They don't want to see the gore. They want to see that psychological thriller. They want to see horror. They want that the kind of the ghost sort of story, but they don't want to see explicit, you know, fingers and limbs being cut off. And but that's why this was done so well. That's why it survives, because you have good writing behind it. You have the good writing, you have the good direction, and you have the actors in place to bring it to life. And that's what you want to have. And when you have that magic combination, you can't go wrong.
Yeah. Well, you know, the critic, sorry, I'll just tell you this. Some critic back in the early days said, it's torture porn. And I looked at him and just gave him a smack. I said, listen, bro, if the audience has clever questions, how can you just call it torture porn? There's a reason that it's successful. And when I meet the fans, some of the intricate questions they ask takes my breath away. And when Tobin's next to me, if the questions are too clever, I go, Tobin, you can have that one. And he'll answer it.
What's Tobin like to work with? Jigsaw himself.
Absolutely professional, gives a damn about everything. Very clever actor. I do have one Tobin story I better share now. Unless you're going to invite me back, but it's a funny one. When he puts me in that trap with the shotgun, where he teaches me how to become better at this and, you know, redeem myself. Do you remember that scene? Right?
I do. I.
Yeah, it was a long scene, and he calls me up in my room about 11 o'clock at night. He goes, Costas, it's Tobin. And I go, it's 11 o'clock at night, and Jigsaw's calling me. Oh, fuck. And he wanted to talk about the scene. And he was so dedicated. He goes, come to my room. I'm like, oh, shit. Anyway, we went to his room. And the next day, we went for a walk in snowy, rainy Toronto, just walking and talking. And this guy was just walking, like not even looking at the traffic. I'm thinking I'm going to get hit every 2 seconds. He's like a ghost. And I was following him down the street. And one of the most intriguing walks of my life. But we talked about the scene for a day and a half, and it turned out to be one of the best scenes in Saw history. And it was because of him and his dedication, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of films, and you get, you know, serial killer, even though Jigsaw never actually killed anybody, you know, he's still, by the authorities, he's still labeled as a killer, which he's not. But you see a lot of these films, and, you know, the bad guy's always running about, rushing about. And, but Toby, you know, Jigsaw, he's very laid back. He knows exactly what he wants to do, who he wants to do it to, and he just goes and does it. There's no rush or, you know, anything like that. And that's what I like it, you know, that's what I like about it. I've got one more question for you, Costas, before we sort of wind up. That scene with the shotgun, 2 questions for you, actually. I'm conscious of the time. In that scene with the shotgun, you're sitting in the chair, and then, you know, he fires it, and it's an empty round sort of thing. And then he turned. Is Hoffman aware of who the guy is? Because I know near the end of that scene, he turns around and says, I'm the man they call Jigsaw.
Yeah. Well, no, because when I get in the elevator, I kind of see a guy just staring at the ceiling. And I don't know if you remember, but I kind of go, you know, when you feel somebody in the room, I go, who is this cat? Before I know it, he's got the needle in my neck, and I wake up in the chair. So I do find out that I now have a mentor, and he means business, and he's trying to teach me something. And then that relationship begins, and we have, let's put it this way, I meet the general. I just want to be a good soldier.
And you turn into a good soldier. So last question, when you're out and about, not when you're working, in your own time, you know, your downtime, you're out and about, you know, shops, streets, whatever. Do people come up to you and say, do you want to play a game? Or do you ever get anybody come up and give you lines for the film? Game over, you know, whatever.
Yeah, I think they've come up with other movies, but in general, I think they're a little bit nervous to come up to me because it's more of a younger audience, and they're a bit like, should I say something to him or not? But every now and then people freak out, and I'll give them a hug or a high five or a thumbs up, and they go, man, we didn't know if you were an asshole or not. Like, don't if you think I'm a nice guy, don't ever tell anybody. because it'll ruin my reputation.
Absolutely.
I don't ever tell anybody, or you and I will meet again. That kind of thing. That would scare them. But well, I think we'll wind up the edge. I know you two are on a very, very busy schedule, but I'll keep a hold of you just for a wee second after we come off, if that's all right. So John's with us next month for another show, and we're holding Costas. I've already got you booked. You're ready to sort with Dominic. I hope Costas you'll come.
I'm in. I will come back 100%.
Excellent, buddy. I'll be throwing John some dates very shortly then to get you back in, because I mean the Saw films, you could talk for hours about it. You could literally talk for hours. So that's it for tonight, folks. A massive thank you to Mr. Ozuna. You'll see him next month, and a massive thank you to Costas for coming in. Look up all the Saw films. You see this man in it, and he's going to come back and see. Or by the way, Costas, last thing I heard, this was your first podcast.
I do believe I've done one or two others, but this is my first European one. Let's put it that way. And if I can say goodbye to Scotland, I'll say, you've heard about the Glasgow kiss? I'll give you a great kiss. Be well, everybody.
It's been a massive pleasure and an honour for us, and we will be getting you back, young man. So we'll say goodnight, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I'll let these two guys go and do what they're going to do, and I'll be in touch, fellas, very soon.
Right. You got it.
All right. So Costas, I think we can say
we'll be in touch, Costas.
Anytime,
I think
buddy.
we can say game over. No, of course. Can you finish it up with saying game over?
I'll tell you what I want to say. I'll say game over, but I'll tell you what I really want to say. The game will never end.
Aha.
Saw 11. Watch out for it. Right. Cheers, folks. Cheers,
Take care, guys.
Talk to you later on. Bye. Bye.